Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Good afternoon. What's up, everybody? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, February 5th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, what is up, everybody? It is what a week we've got coming up. Starting tomorrow, thankfully, weather's going to be run on Friday and not the weekend because Aqueduct is canceled Saturday, Sunday. But Friday, they're on. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is, we've got, so today's show, just a little spoiler here, 7 races we're going to talk about today. And they're all Oaks / Derby preps. So, you get the Oaklawn card on Friday with the Martha Washington in the Southwest, of course. And then, Withers on Friday. And then, we go to Tampa. We go to Santa Anita on the weekend as well. So it's it's here. It's officially here. The Derby preps are here. 20-point races across the board. The last few here before we get to the Risen Star, which, of course, is a 50-point race. But yeah, it's here. And, with the Southwest being pushed back a week because of the weather, it's like, as soon as the Southwest is always, it's $1 million race and it attracts big fields. This year is no different. And it is like, it's look at the field. Like, this is as legit as most of these preps have been so far for it being, especially for it being just a 20-point race.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it feels like everything is kind of big in a bigger kind of scale now with Ted Nafi being out. And so Ted Nafi being out makes everything feel that much more important because instead of watching a race and going, well, I don't know if he can beat Ted Nafi, you watch a race and go, well, I mean, somebody has to win right now. And if you see a big performance, not only it's okay, they're a contender, like they may be the horse. So I mean, you got 13 of them still left in the Southwest, and that's going to be great. I think the Sam F. Davis is just fascinating. We'll talk about it as well. I'm overly excited. I think last week, we were supposed to have 3 preps and we only have 1, but now you get 4 and it's just like, man, it just feels like this is just a super exciting weekend, much more exciting than you thought, when you first saw the calendar.
Yeah, it's, I think too, is you kind of alluded to it, is it is going to be interesting as we go along the trail here, because going into, or, previous to, like last, if you guys listened to the show last week, like we found out the news of Ted Nafi while we were recording and we kind of, talked about it. But like going into that weekend, before that, it was like, it's always like, here's Ted Nafi, he's the bar. Now, every race we watch, every prep we watch, it's like, can that horse compete with Ted? Ted Nafi, he was the bar, right? And deservingly so. And so now that he's gone, he's off the trail, and it does feel like each and every week, it's not just who can compete with Ted Nafi, because that's not a thing now, but it's like, can you have the confidence of putting a horse number 1? And not just because it's like the best of what you've seen, but it's like, no, I legit think this horse is the Derby winner. And that's 2 completely different things. Like, to have the horse that you just believe is the best horse right now versus this is like the horse that I think can win the Derby. And I think as we go, that's going to be such a evolving kind of concept until it kind of clicks. And you're like, oh, that's the horse. I finally saw the horse that I think can do it.
Yeah, no, and I think what makes it so much fun is, like, right now the Kentucky Derby favorite is Paladin on the future wager kind of list, and his high buyer is an 85. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? I mean, and we're that, not that he can't improve or he will improve. I think he will, but his high buyer is an 85, and so that's what makes this thing just completely up in the air. And I kind of expect to have a new number 1 by the end of this weekend. Will that happen? I don't know, but I've never went into a weekend, other than last week, obviously, because of the injury, but I've never went into a weekend going, well, I think I'll have a new number 1, this season. So I think that's what makes it exciting. And like I said, they may all flop. You may only get 1 or 2 that are really good. You may get a bunch, who knows? But I just kind of like the excitement of, man, this is a lot of unknown. And this class right now is light, but there's a lot of horses that have potential. And it's just now a matter of these last, 6 to 8 weeks, who's going to show up. Like, we'll talk about a ton of horses today. There's a lot of potential. It's just, okay, can they jump up and run that big race, whether it be this weekend or their next prep or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you this weekend, like I feel like you're almost looking for a new, like you're hoping to get a new number one each week. You know what I mean? Until you, like I said, until you find that horse where you're somewhat confident, as confident as you could be. But like, you say you get a new number one. Well, guess what? Next weekend you might get a new number one, because you're back to your old number one with the Risen Star. And then you got the Saudi Derby that same weekend. But again, after that, you've got, you go into the Fountain of Youth not too long after that, 28th, the Gotham, the Rebels, March 1st. I mean, each and every week, you could be like, all right, do we have a new number one? Who's the one? And it really might be one of those things where you're not really on your, like, Derby. I guess that's what I'm doing a bad job of describing it, but I feel like with Ted Nafi, it was like it's January and he's the Derby winner. Now that seems insane because there's a ton of time, but until proven otherwise, he was the Derby winner in a lot of minds. Whereas the field, what we have now, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I might know the Derby, think I know the Derby winner like May 1st, like it might be up to that until you get to that point.
I think that's the year we're heading towards right now. It's going to be more of one or two things are going to happen, I think, from this point moving forward. It's going to be a mage-like year where you're just like, I don't know, could be a lot of them, or it's going to be a big brown type year where one of these horses, they're really going to develop and they're just going to look like they're pretty tough to beat. I think that's your two likely scenarios from this point moving forward. It does feel like a year where, like I said, there's a lot of potential, but maybe only one or maybe two, kind of really reach that potential on the first Saturday in May. And so it might be kind of clear, like California Chrome year comes to mind, things like that.
Yeah.
Or you're just kind of looking at, I think three different horses are going to win the prep or all the Triple Crown races. We're going to have three different ones. Like, I kind of lean towards that. I think we're going to go into the Derby like, man, I don't know this year. Yeah. But that's okay. That's some of those years that's when you really can make a big score. So, but at this moment, again, like I'll say it one more time, the horse that people are telling me is going to win the Kentucky Derby, his high current buyer is an 85, and buyers are not the end all be all. That's painfully slow. Like, an 85 buyer doesn't win a lot of 2-year-old stakes races. So, and we're talking about the Kentucky Derby. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it definitely isn't it funny how racing works sometimes with these 3-year-olds where it's like there's certain years where you're like, damn, it's like look at last year. God, could journalism not have been born a year later? Because like, it's like, or could Good Magic not have been born the same year as Justify? Like where you have these really good horses, and how many times have we said it where it's like, man, if he's really good, he would win most years except for that freak of a horse. And then there's other years where, like you said, with the Mage, where it's just like, shit, I don't know. I mean, it could be any of them. And so it is funny how we feel like it's one or the other. California Chrome is a good example of a horse that, I mean, he had a great career, don't get me wrong, but like he was the best of a weak bunch, right? That year for the most part. And so like it's a good example of like, hey, just there's an elite horse out of comparable to everyone else. Maybe we do get one of those, there's still a lot of time, but as of right now, I'm leaning more towards like the Mage type scenario where it's like, hey, this is a horse. Like, I don't want to get to the Derby and be picking as of right now, be leaning on a short price, not at all.
Yeah, I think the journalism thing is interesting because that's what you're like. If somebody develops and they kind of give you that journalism look and the rest of them just kind of tread water a little bit, trade winds, whatever, that's what I'm talking about in a scenario where it's like, yeah, well, that's the horse, right? And that could happen. I mean, take Nearly, for example, who I put Nearly number one mainly because who do you put number one, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked the Holy Bull. I thought it was okay. I think he looks better than anything we've seen so far. But say he goes off and he does that again in the Florida Derby and he wins by like 5 or 6 lengths. And maybe this time he sits a little bit off the pace, kind of like he did in the race before. Then, and everybody else is just kind of kicking the tires. Well, then all of a sudden, that's the scenario where, okay, we have one that's like, we're pretty sure if he runs well, he's going to win. I do think that could happen, but I'm kind of just leaning more towards, man, this thing is going to get weird. And to be fair to the Mays year, if Forte doesn't get hurt, maybe that would have been the horse, right? That year, who knows?
Well, very similar to that year. We compared, Ted Nafi to Forte, only this time it happened several months early. But that seemed to be kind of the situation that year. It's like, oh, Forte, and then you're like, oh shit, now Forte's out. Now what do we do? And then you end up going Tapit Trice. I think that was Tapit Trice year, which is obviously not a great idea. And that was just one of those years that it felt like the horse running. The horse that won ran its best race that day versus kind of like going into it with like this back class of like, hey, this is the horse that's going to win this thing. So I lean towards that. But again, it's February 5th. So there's a ton of time for a horse to establish themselves. I know one thing, we'd have no shortage of potential or prospects. Like they're all over the place, whether it be maiden special weights, whether it be, allowance, whether it be these early stakes races. There's tons of options as of right now. And, we're going to see a lot more as we go along. We'll get into a little bit of the risers and fallers as we go through this, and we go through some of these races after the Derby preps. But let's not waste any more of this time because we have, like I said, 7 races to go over. We're going to look at the huge weekend to the road of the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks, headlined, of course, by it's always crazy, the $1 million Southwest Stakes, right? That's always awesome at Oaklawn. It's a great $3 million race. Tune in. We got, contender profiles, betting strategies, all that kind of stuff for all 7. We have 3 Oaks races we're going to talk about first. Then we're going to go 4 Derby preps. Then we'll get a little bit into the kind of the contenders as we do on each of these shows, like who's, who we like, who performed well last week, whatever, who we're looking forward to coming back, whatever. We'll get more into that as we go. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. All right, Halterman, we'll kick things off here with, we're going to knock out the 3 Oaks races first. And then we'll get into the main stuff.
Okay.
All right, on Friday, Oaklawn Park, the rescheduled Martha Washington and Southwest Stakes. We'll first start with the Martha Washington. This is race 6. Again, Friday at Oaklawn Park, $300,000. Mile 16, fillies, 3-year-olds, Kentucky Oaks. All these are going to be either Oaks or Derby preps, and 2010 642 for those top 5 finishers. And a field of 8 lined up here for this Oaks prep. This is a good race, Halterman. I think there's a few in here that are going to be exciting to watch. Cassie's got a few that look like potential stars. Hit Parade has been solid, although maybe not completely blowing people out of the water, but has done enough. Where are you going here?
I guess I'll go with what I would call the now horse, or maybe the light bulb horse, if you want to call her that. I went number 3 Search Party on top in this spot. And I say that the light bulb horse, it took 5 races, but Search Party gets the maiden broke last time out in a maiden special weight right here at Oaklawn Park by 6 lengths and just ran away from them. And I went back and, because when I saw that, when you're going through the past performances, you're like, okay, is that kind of a little bit of a fluke? I don't think so. I thought she was awesome in that race. She just dusted that field. Look, she lost 4 straight races before this. She was competitive in 3 of them. I just kind of think the light bulb came on. I think she's the now horse. I like the number 3 Search Party on top. I think she's going to get a really good trip in here as well. There's a lot of pace. I think that's okay. You've seen her come from out of it. You've seen her come from stalking, positions before. I don't think she'll be kind of on the lead or pressing the lead like last time, but I think she's going to come running when it counts. So I put number 3 Search Party on top.
Yeah, I was kind of between, because I'm with you. I've kind of, I don't know, I'm almost waiting for Hit Parade to lose, and I feel like I need to get off that. Like I've been close a few times, and I feel like I need to jump before I get beat by her, or she beats me, I guess I should say, if I pick her. So I was kind of between the two Cassie horses as well, and we'll make this easy because I went with the other one. So I went with Counting Stars, and it's hard to kind of make fault on on the other one. You're like, okay, took 5 starts to break the maiden, but light bulb went off like you said. The other one, Counting Stars, has been just pretty steady. There's one race that clearly is the outlier, just didn't show up for whatever reason. The second start after the debut, but past that, this horse has won by 4 lengths on debut. You had the issue or whatever happened in that stakes race at Keeneland, and then the last 2 at Oaklawn is 1 by 4 and 1 by 6, and has done it coming off the pace, has done it on the pace, has done it in a mile. Which is stretching out here a little bit longer, but I don't think the issue will be honor AP out of a painter. You won't see many of those painter mares. So yeah, I think the distance will be good. I am cautious about how this horse hasn't necessarily the buyers have increased, but they haven't been dramatic. You haven't seen that jump like your horse, where it's boom, all of a sudden. It's been very, if you throw out the outlier, it's 74, 77, and 79. So good, very standard, has been solid, but is it good enough to win here if, say, one of these horses just pops? We'll see. But I like the 5 here to win at 5-2. But are you between those two? Were you is that where you were kind of thinking too?
Yeah, I am kind of against Hit Parade in here. So yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. I kind of think it's going to be one of the Cassies, and I'm with you. I have the 5 in second, and you're kind of splitting hairs between the two of them. To be honest, I just I think that last race and At the Distance was kind of what put me over the edge on Search Party. But yeah, I would put Counting Stars, I think, has just to get a chance. And like I said, she's definitely been the more flashy of the 2 runners.
Yeah, she is pop for sure, and she likes Oaklawn Park, so as well as yours, I guess, because maybe that's part of the reason why the horse broke through finally. So we'll see. That'll be a fun little matchup. I gotta assume one will be on the lead, and then the other one will be up right off of it. But I think there's some decent fillies in that race for sure, especially for that Oaklawn division. So we'll see who comes out of that one. We're on the 2 Cassie horses. All right. Let's go to Tampa Bay on Saturday. Tampa Bay Downs. Again, we'll go back to all these races, all these tracks for the Derby preps after we go through these. This is race number 5, also from the Suncoast Stakes. 1 mile and 40 yards. Of course, again, Phillies 3-year-olds, and it's Derby Kentucky Oaks. 2010, 6-4, and 2 field of 8 shows up here. And this is, odds and look at the past performances, anything you want to look at. This is very clearly a 2-horse race between the 3 and the 5. Zanny and Life of Joy, Pratt, Ortiz, Pletcher, Cox. Take your pick.
It's the 3 Zanny for me, and it's a 3-5 exacta for me straight. I think Zany's. I think she's way the horse to beat. If you do I don't want to really get a 1-9 involved. Just take a small shot with the 5, because I do think Life of Joy is clearly the second best horse in the race. If you think maybe Life of Joy could pull the upset, I wouldn't necessarily talk you off of it. But to me, Zaney is a clear standout in here. So I will just be singling Zaney and moving on. Obviously, you're not going to be able to play this horse to win. So if you play that straight exacta 3-5, you could do that as well. But it's Zaney all day. She has been just really, really good in both of her starts. So,
yeah, not that I needed to, have the confirmation, but just follow IRAD, I guess here. It's that, to me, it's pretty simple. It's written both the 5 and the 3. You definitely know could have picked either one. There's 1 on both, and stays put there on Zanny. Zanny just hasn't even began. Now, always ran twice. Grade 2 winner already. Hasn't even sniffed losing. Not even close. It's been dominant fashions both starts. 6.5 on the debut, 8.5 on the second race, which was, by the way, was a 1.8 Demoiselle. mean, this horse is a monster. I mean, really, I think as someone said here, hey, it's your Oaks winner. I mean, listen, it's early, but certainly I would say has got to be top contender to win the thing, right? I mean, again, 2 races, right? We haven't even seen the horse as a 3-year-old, so it's kind of impossible to go there. But if you had to pick an Oaks winner as of February 5th, I think Zanny would be pretty high on your list.
Yeah, absolutely. Curtis, you just stole my thunder. I would seriously be thinking about a boy race if, and it's a big if things go like they did last year. She looks like that type. Like, and numbers are numbers, and they don't mean everything. But if she was in the Sam F. Davis, I would pick her based on her numbers, right?
Yeah. Especially if she rolls as a 3-year-old debut and she just dominates again. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of chatter, not just the Belmont, but like you said, like Derby preps, like considering the state of that we're in, we just got done talking about, like, why not try it? If she were to run another huge race.
Well, and look, I love time form, right? And that's what I believe in the most. And again, the time form speed figure is not the end all be all, just like a buyer or anything else, but I do like it. Her time form speed figure in the Demoiselle was a 113. She was really under a gallop for most of that race. And so I estimate she could have ran a little faster, but let's just say the fastest is a 113 that she's capable of. That's like 6 points higher than anything else in Sam F. Davis. It's a couple points higher than anything in the Withers. It's about 6 points higher than anything in the Southwest. Again, it'd be a female facing boys. There's other factors. I'm just saying, on like the surface of it, she's as fast as the boys. So it depends on how she develops. She may run in this race and get beat. I mean, we've seen that happen. A good 2-year-old doesn't develop, but let's say she even takes like a mild kind of step forward from 2 to 3, she's right there with these other horses. So it'll be very interesting what happens here.
Yeah, I mean, she's like you mentioned. What'd you say, Paladin was like? Would you say 85?
I think it was 85.
Buyer?
Yeah,
89 for Zanny on that in the last race. Now again, it's hard to compare. Different races, different times, whatever. But let's just say she comes back and runs an 89 again. Well, now it's like, okay, she's got a better buyer than the quote unquote Derby winner right now. So why? Again, it's fillies versus the Colts. It's always tough, but all I'm saying is I think they would highly consider it.
I don't compare times for different days, okay? But the Remsen and the Demoiselle was ran on the exact same day and at the exact same distance. I think that is a very relevant thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
She ran almost full second faster than the boys in the Remsen.
So someone help me out. Like, I'm trying to think of what I know. Pletcher's got a bunch, but which ones are Rapoli? Like, I don't feel like he's got very. I
don't think he does
many, right?
Because
again, Pletcher's got a ton, but I don't. So my point is if this is the horse, like we know, Mike Rapoli is not afraid. If this is it, okay. Well, grittiness hardly counts, but I mean, yeah, I understand. So like.
Yeah.
And by the way, like if Zanny and Grittiness were in the same race, who would you pick?
I think Zanny could lap him.
So that's
just for example, okay, Zanny ran the mile and an eighth in a minute 50 seconds, 0.55. And I think the Remsen was like 151.4737. Well, the winner was 151.37. In the Remsen. Grittiness was 9.5 lengths behind that. So she literally could beat him on that day if they ran in the same race by about 15 to 20 lengths. I'm not going to do the math, but that's crazy when you think of it like that.
He's thinking about it already. I mean, he's no way, especially considering he doesn't have a horse in the mix, and I will be shocked. I mean, assuming like if health is all fine and well, I will be shocked if between now and say the Belmont, whenever that June, let's say mid-June, she's not running in a boy race at some point. Now, I don't know what race it is, if it's a Derby prep, an Oaks prep, or a Triple Crown race, but I'd be kind of shocked if she didn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you cross this, bridge,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And let's, like I say, let's just pretend she runs huge. I mean, you got to throw her in a Derby prep if you want to run in the Derby. So he might not do that. But yeah, I think if everything goes in a perfect world for him, he definitely is the comment Florida Derby. I mean, is it out of the question? I don't know. So yeah, I hope she runs well, because I kind of want to see. Look, you can feel any way you want about the guy, but it'll kind of be a circus one way or another, and I'm kind of here for that. So yeah, I'm kind of excited. I hope she runs well.
Yeah, I think it would either be Florida or Tampa Bay Derby. I mean,
yeah,
one of those two. Especially she runs. She's already won at Gulfstream. She broke her maiden there, but that's the thing too about her. That's cool. This is going to be her third track in as many starts. You know, so she's versatile as hell, and is kind of one where they want her to. And again, Aqueduct, the Wood, Gulfstream, the Florida Derby, and here's Tampa, the Tampa Bay Derby. Would have options for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, man, what about the Wood? So the Wood, she's like that side of the country. She might actually lap the field if she ran there. So,
I mean, let's pretend she's in the Withers this weekend, and my apologies to Manlow, and Manlow, I like your horse Ottenho a little bit as well, but I mean, I'm taking her over Ottenho.
I think Manlow would too.
Yeah.
if he wants to be honest with himself, I think he would too. So, but again, lots to say about her, but she needs to go out and, Life of Joy is not a bad horse by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
So she is going to have to go out and do her thing, because otherwise it's kind of a mute point. So we'll see what she does. Obviously, Halter and I both pretty heavy here on the 3. I like your pick. I mean, 3-5 exacta. If you're looking to get any value whatsoever off the 3, I think that's it. I don't know what that exacta will be, but
yeah,
I mean, 2-1 maybe or something like that. You can get on if that's what you're trying to do. I don't even know if you get that at that field. All right, let's go to Sunday now. The last Oaks prep we're going to do, the Las Virgenes race 8. Again, Kentucky Oaks 20-10-642. Which means they're all getting points, Halterman, because there's only 4 horses in the race. Now, the plus side is you do got Baffert versus Sadler, the same 2 that ran 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. That's Explora versus Super Corridora. I mean, I don't know. It's 4 horses. It's between those 2. Do you think that Explora can, turn the tables here?
I think so. I think a 4-horse race kind of does maybe favor Super Corridora a little bit, because she is fast early, but Baffert has a way of kind of turning the tables on ones that beat him before. So I'm going to go number 2, Explora, on top in this spot. It's a dumb race. I mean, it's like, what's going on here? But I'm going to go Explora to beat Super Corridora.
Yeah, just wait till it's a 3-horse race. When one of those other 2 scratch, wouldn't surprise me. I went with the other one. I went with the 4, the winner. Last out. That race was very impressive by her. And I just think being at a mile plus the fact that you've got weird things can happen in pace setups and whatnot, and there's no pace setup at all in the race, because there's only 4 horses, and especially if one scratches, I think the 4 just goes out and Explora, kind of tracks her all kind of similar to the last time. And I think if this is a little bit longer, maybe I could get talked into Explora. Although, I mean, mile 16th is not necessarily out of her wheelhouse, meaning Super Corridora. But I just think the mile, I think she's going to be really tough in the short field. So give me the 4. I'm with you. I don't know what you do at this. I mean, they're both good horses. So I guess if they run 1-2, they're still very much in the mix for the Oaks. But it's hard to learn much out of a 4-horse race.
It's tough, man. It's the scene out there in California is just rough, really rough. So it is great. You got the 1-2 finishers of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and the 4th place horse. So that was meaning. But yeah, it's just kind of sad.
What the hell's happening? I mean, I know it's
Hot.
I mean, it's not like it's new, but can we can only get 4 horses in an Oaks prep out there?
I'm at this point, I just glad they filled it. Like I don't want to be negative, but it's bad.
All right. Well, that's a look at the Oaks preps. I do think we got some pretty solid stars running this weekend. But let's go to the main event, or at least the main events on. We'll stay out at Santa Anita. Let's do that and get that one out of the way, which is the day before. It's race number 8 on Saturday. That's right. Race number 8 on Saturday at Santa Anita Park, the Robert B. Lewis Stakes, grade 3, 100K, 1 mile for 3-year-olds. A little bit bigger field here, although 3 of them are trained by Bob Baffert. Got to assume at least one will scratch, right? We see that every time. That happens literally every time he's got multiple horses in a race. So, but field of 7 as of now. Desert Gate, your 6-5 favorite. Are you sticking with the favorite?
I'm very excited for this horse. Not only this race, but moving forward. I think Desert Gate's a pretty nice one. I was super excited to play a Ted Noffey Desert Gate exacta in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And then, of course, Desert Gate doesn't make the race. Big surprise there. But anyway, I kind of think it might have been the best thing moving forward for him, though. He ran 4 times as a 2-year-old, get a little break, rest up and get ready for this 3-year-old season. It just kind of feels like this has been a target for Desert Gate for a long time. And it just feels to me like he's getting ready to run a big race. He's working well. Everything seems good. I've really liked this horse ever since his debut, even. I'm a big fan of Desert Gate. So I'm going to go number 1 Desert Gate on top. I hope I'm not overrating him. I hope I'm not too excited for him. I just really like him in this spot.
I mean, listen, I don't know that I love him, like love him for like Derby. I don't know. I mean, it's Bob Baffert, so nothing would surprise me, but he's clearly the horse of the Baffert barn. The 2 is a turf horse, or at least has been running on 3 of starts of 5 have been on the turf, although has ran decent, ran the American Fair, ran 3rd. So it was kind of interesting. They even took the horse back to the turf after that, but and then Cherokee Nation is a maiden. And although, again, has been running okay, still a maiden. And so I think from the Baffert side, it's clearly Desert Gate. And then, horses that, he's got to beat. And Thibodeau has beat him, although did not run well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Desert Gate didn't run in the Juvenile. Robusta was good last time out, beat Cherokee Nation. Should have a pace situation going on there as well. Secured Freedom, I think, is interesting at a price. Point of all that is Desert Gate, to me, is the one to beat. I mean, I don't love him. I do think he's going to be really tough at a mile. I think Bob Baffert's got him set up to win. I mean, he's bringing 3 into the race. He plans on winning with one of them. I think it's this one.
I think Desert Gate is an actual contender for this thing, and he has to go win. I'm saying if he wins, obviously, or even if he runs really well. I think he's serious. I really do. Now, I think the 7, if he can stretch, and this is a mile, so I think he'll be okay here. I think the 7 is a pretty decent horse too. Yeah. I don't think the 7 will ultimately be a Kentucky Derby contender, because I don't think once we get to a mile and a quarter, I don't know, by practical joke, Uncle Mo Mare on the bottom, that might help, but I don't see mile and a quarter with that horse. But I think going a mile, I think Secured Freedom could be dangerous too. I think it's the 1 or the 7 here.
I really like the 7. I'm
not worried about Intrepido too much.
No, I'm not either, and I'm honestly not, and worried about Robusta or any of these kind of new shooters. I guess I don't know. Desert Gate, he's bred awesome, and he's been the horse, right? When he won that Best Pal and won it by 9 lengths or whatever it was, and then he finished second to Brand, who was the horse right at that time. in the demo for charity, and then went off the favorite in the American Pharoah and lost, and then that wasn't seen again. So certainly is capable of being good or not great or beating the Baffert horse or however you want to look at it. I need to see more from him, So I'm not there yet. I see what you're saying though, that he could be. It's been consistent. I need to see again, another horse that's ran mid 80 buyers, we need to see something better.
Yeah. I think this is a very good race to try the Derby Trail for him. That's what I would say. I think it's a really good one to try it. And again, he finished really nice, but that was at 6.5 furlongs. He also, the horse he beat, I don't know. He didn't run very well in that maiden last week. I didn't think, talking about Captain Shreve. So I kind of, it's kind of a hit or miss type of thing for me, but I did see a horse that's got talent in that race, at least in my opinion. So this will be a very fun kind of race to break down what happens here. And look, maybe Intrepido, maybe the 1 and 7 go out there and Intrepido mows them down. I mean, that is possible. I just don't think that's going to happen this time.
All right, so we're both on the same horse. Kind of an odd situation here. We're both on the same horse, but I feel like we have different thoughts on the horse.
Right.
You have a much higher upside than I do, but for this race, we do both like the 1 Desert Gate to win and pick up valuable Derby points, 20 points to the winner. So regardless, if it wins here, doesn't matter. He'll probably get himself into the gate because he's already got. Does he have points already? Trying to remember. Does
Desert Gate? Yeah, he's got a few.
American Pharoah gets points, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know exactly how many, but he's got a few.
All right. Let's go back a day to Friday here. We're gonna save the Southwest for last, but let's go to Friday now. Tomorrow, the Withers Stakes at Aqueduct, race 10. Again, Friday, Aqueduct, race 10, the Withers, 200K, mile and 8th. For 3-year-olds, again, 20, 10, 6, 4, 2 for your top 5 finishers. Field of 7, definitely the weakest race for the 3-year-old colts of the weekend for sure. Prep race, I should say. 9-5 on Tanaho, 2-1 on Schoolyard Superman, 6-1 on Mulata, 4-1 and 6-1, 9-2 in Grittiness. We talked about him a little bit ago. But it kind of comes down to the Chad Browns, at least on paper. And which one do you like more?
Look, we went over it before. We went over it last week. It's pretty much the same race. I still like number 3 Ottenho on top in this one. He got a win last time out, going the distance of 1 mile and 1/8. Only horse in the race that was able to win going 1 mile and 1/8. Only one of 2 that have ran 1 mile and 1/8. I thought he really improved last time out, and he won by a head, but they were 3 3/4 lengths clear of the 3rd place horse. It was a stablemate of his that he was up against that day. I really like Ottenho in this spot. I do think Schoolyard Superman is interesting. I think he is the speed of the speed. Maybe he gets out in front and they can't catch him, but I do think number 3 Ottenho is going to catch him. So it's definitely the most boring of the 4. I don't think Ottenho and Schoolyard Superman are bad horses, really. I just don't know how they're going to match up once maybe they're outside of this circuit.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with this race. I mean, it's clear that it's between the 2 and the 3. Although I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'd be surprised if, Grittiness did win or 4th and 1 or the 5, gate to wire. Just because I don't, this is just not a great bunch, and maybe the 2 or the 3 come out of this, and it's like, hey, this is like the best of not a great bunch, but. They also could just run, in the race they ran last time, and then one of these horses jumps up. I mean, 4th and 1 I think his form proved to be decent last week with Rivaro, who ran well to nearly finish second that race. And then, so he could certainly, if this race doesn't do much, he could definitely upset the field for sure. But I'm with you. I did go with the 3. Tanaho, I just thought that last race showed that this horse is pretty dang gritty, and especially when you go to the mile and 8th, I think that's a big key for me. And a bunch of unproven horses going this long, he's one that showed he can do it, and he did it quite well in that main special weight last out. So I'll go in Tanaho, but I'm very much waiting and seeing with this group here.
Yeah, I mean, it's this race every year. You kind of are like, okay, that was something.
Well, it's just a bunch of horses that are loping down the stretch because it's a mile and 1/8 and it's February and it's like or end of January when they normally run it, and it's like, what do we, just someone get to the wire.
Well, to be fair, the 1 year, let's say recently, where we got a serious horse was a Chad Brown horse, and it was early voting, and he did look really good winning the race, and he wasn't loping to the wire, ended up winning the Preakness, right? But yeah, I mean, most of the time you look at this and go, well, it was a race, but I don't really watch the Withers with an eye on the Kentucky Derby. I watch the Withers to see if that day I picked the right horse to win the race.
Yeah, it's listen, I think whoever comes out, I mean, both the two, I don't know, this is an interesting race for I think Chad, and I think he knows it, where it's like, all right, let's see. I've got two kind of similar horses here. Let's see which one comes out of this race as like one of my Derby prospects, right? I mean, obviously he's got several this year, but let's see who comes out of this one as, moving forward down that trail. And maybe they both do. We'll see how they run. But yeah, you and I are both on the 3, Atanaho to win the Withers. Again, that's on Friday. All right, let me pull up. Let's go to Tampa, back to Tampa, I should say, for the Sam F. Davis. This is a fun race. Race number 11 on Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs. It is the Sam F. Davis Stakes, 250K, mile 16th for the 3-year-olds, 2010, 6-4, and 2 for the top 5 finishers. Field of 9 lines up here. 8-5 on Renegade. Todd Pletcher. Tell me if you've heard this before. Pletcher versus Cox. Confessional, the one horse at 2-1, who got just curb stomped by Nearly last out, but all of a sudden that looks pretty good after Nearly looked awesome in the Holy Bull. So Renegade, who we haven't seen in a bit, versus Confessional, who maybe just got beat by a way better horse and finally gets that class he needs.
I love this race. I'm so excited for this race. You've got Renegade, who's finished ahead of Paladin, and then Paladin beat him in the Rimson. You got Confessional, who you just said Nearly beat. You didn't even mention the Puma. I am intrigued to hell with the Puma because he got beat by Chief Wallaby.
You just like the name.
No, I like the horse a lot in this race. Let's start with this. The Puma is also entered in the 8th race Saturday at Gulfstream Park in a maiden special weight. He will be a very heavy favorite in that race. He is 6-1 in this race. However, I think he has a great shot to win this race. So what do you do? Do you go to the maiden special weight? Do you go here? That'll be the first interesting thing that will ultimately help decide the race. We can talk about him in a second. I'll talk about my top pick. I love number 6 Renegade. Renegade's my 3rd ranked Kentucky Derby horse right now. I've been waiting for him to come back. Excited to see what he could do. The race 2 back where he finished ahead of Paladin, I thought he was the better horse that day. I think he was very unlucky to get disqualified. I mean, maybe he should have been, maybe he shouldn't. I don't want to get into it, but I thought he was a really, really good horse that day. But that was Paladin's first start. Paladin comes back to win second out. Renegade gets second. That was in the Rimson. Before the race, Todd Pletcher was saying Renegade missed a couple of works. He might be a tad short, but he's good enough to run. We'll see. He makes a move like he's going to win that thing, and he flattens out a little bit. That's kind of explained, right? He's been working well. I'm really excited to see what Renegade can do. I do really, really like this horse. I love Into Mischief on the top with Curlin on the bottom. I think that's a really nice pedigree to go long. I'm excited for Renegade. So I put number 6 Renegade on top. I have the Puma in second. I think if the Puma runs here, he's very dangerous.
Well, listen, there's a lot of storylines here, right? You mentioned a lot of them. And, by the way, Rapoli, there's a Rapoli Renegade with Robert Lowe. So you do have, there's some Rapoli flavor there with Renegade. So I guess there's that. But Yeah, it's such an interesting race because it's not even because of the the ripple effect that a lot of these horses have with other horses, right? Because Renegade could prove that Paladin is a freak, or they're both very, very good, right? And then same with the Puma. If the Puma wins or runs well, if he runs here, Chief Wallaby all of a sudden is like, oh shit, how good is that horse? And then Confessional, it's like, okay, if he wins, okay, well, Nearly really, really is very, very good because he just continues to prove that even when he's not racing. So there's a lot of those storylines. I like Confessional, but I just, and I wanted them on to reclaim him on the fantasy team, but I when I watched that race back, I'm just like, there's a reason why we kind of were discouraged from that performance a little bit, where it's like, I don't know that he is quite good enough to win a race like this. Like, I can see him running well. They're doing equipment change with him. Took the blinkers off. Obviously, you get Pratt, although Irad Ortiz is not a bad jockey to have in the last one. I think he'll run well, just mostly because he's a solid horse and the field's not great. I just don't know that he's good enough to win this race right now. So I am on Renegade here. The Puma's interesting. I'll put Confessional second, the Puma third if he runs. But to me, Paladin is one of the top horses. This horse has been trading punches with him. It's hard not to go there. So give me Renegade here.
I think here's the thing with Confessional. You look at Renegade and, he beat Paladin, at least beat him to the wire first. And then he was 2 lengths behind. And then you look at the Puma, he got beat by Chief Wallaby by a length in a 3/4, but he was like 9 ahead of the third place horse. And you look at Confessional and it's like, yeah, he did run second to Nearly, kind of in a different zip code, when he finished. And that was out of the quote unquote big 3. That's why I have Confessional third. Because he ran second to Nearly, but he was a long ways back. So, but I
it's one of those cases, we talk about where it's like, yeah, you got a good buyer, but that's mostly because the horse that dominated got a big buyer. And so you got to give the horse in second, a decent buyer because of that. But you're right. You didn't leave that race being like, oh shit, like Confessional's pretty good too. You're just like, God, Nearly beat the shit out of him. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of, I think just by default, you're like, maybe he's all right because Nearly seems to be pretty good too.
I think it's a really good spot for him, this race. I think that's a good spot. He's a horse that really should improve stretching out. To say like Christopher Maiello says he has no shot, I don't really agree with that. But again, I've got him ranked third out of the big 3. Now, like if the Puma scratches and all of a sudden, now I've got him second. And it's like,
yeah,
am I going to sit here on Saturday and go, well, the horse I had in second won, I'm shocked? No, absolutely not. Maybe I've got Renegade overrated and the Puma scratches. Well, shit, Confessional could definitely win. So,
Brad has got the confidence to, after that loss, to come bring him here. Plus, Flavian Pratt jumps aboard. There's plenty of signs there that say, well, this horse is pretty live because he's not going to run him in here for just for fun.
Yeah, the one thing I'm not even pushing back, but it's the one thing I'll say, and this is probably unfair and not, it's probably not even right of me to say, but as a handicapper, sometimes it just feels like Brad Cox is just kind of throwing them everywhere and hoping at times.
They have ran. That's how they've ran this year. Let's put it that way.
Doesn't it feel like, and again, I handicap every race, every track. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't know. Is it just kind of a week by week thing? It's like, okay, he's doing good this week. He's rested. Let's go here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's like just kind of some random stuff happening there. But again, like I said, this is a very good spot for Confessional. I think this is a very logical, situation for him. You certainly should not have went to the Holy Bull last week and try to beat Nearly again and do that. No, he found a decent spot here. So what I said was probably very unfair, but that's just how sometimes I feel. But to the whole larger point of it, I think this horse is going to run okay. I really do.
with that said, he is very good, and he's got hits at 35% with blinkers off, the equipment change. That's right, blinkers off.
Mhm.
Shout out to blinkers off.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's a great percentage. Again, gets Flavian. They hit at 33% together. Certainly bred to go along, like you kind of alluded to. So there's plenty to like. 2 back-to-back buyers in the mid 80s. So there's really there's no I would not be shocked. And by the way, almost guarantee he's going to win because we dropped him off the fantasy team and then tried to get him back and lost in a shake like we always do. And so I guarantee you, like, if there are such thing as racing gods, he will win this race and he'll punish us for it. But from a handicapping and all things aside, I do think Renegade is the horse here. And I think Renegade is very interesting for the Kentucky Derby if he runs and wins here. Now, this is an interesting one because we talked about Zany and being Pletcher and Ripoli, and it's like now you have Renegade. Where do they end up? Those kind of is he trying to keep them all separate? We'll see what happens here, but I think the Paladin. We'll see what he does next week. Is next week, right? Risen Star.
Yeah. Right
So,
now. Yeah.
Lots to find out with that bunch the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
All right. Let's go to the main event. What do you say, Halterman?
Let's do it.
You excited for this one?
I'm really excited
awesome.
for it. Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, and that's what you want to hear from a handicapper,
Yeah.
but it's a hell of a race. I know that.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for all of them. Even the Withers, and again, it's not like it's not something crazy, but I'm kind of it's a little bit intriguing. But yeah, the Southwest perhaps the most intriguing.
All right, let's go to Oaklawn Park on Friday for the made-up version. I guess the makeup version of the Southwest Stakes. It's grade 3, $1 million. Going 1 1/16 miles for the 3-year-olds. And hey, they stuck around, Halter. We got a full field of 14 lined up here. One will scratch. The litmus test will not make the trip for Bob Baffert. Would have been tough to beat, I think. But our good friend Tom Bryan told us that he's not coming. So 5-2 scratching that one. You got to assume the other Baffert might go off the favorite, although Decode is technically your second choice. So it would, 3-1. The 2-horse Butane is 4-1, 9-2 on Strategic Risk. Honestly, Halter, when I handicap this race and I text you, I'm like, dude, I think there's 13 horses, let's say. I think like 8 of them could win. It's a really good race.
It's a fascinating race. You don't usually see this many horses this early in a race either. And that has a lot to do with it's $1 million, I'm sure. So yeah, it really is a lot of fun. And I was with you. I thought Litmus Test looked pretty good in here, but he's not here, so we won't worry about that. I will say this, and this is crazy, guys. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. 1 week ago today, the track at Oaklawn Park was completely frozen. Completely frozen. They will run this race on Friday with temperatures of 75 degrees. So they have went from completely frozen to 75 degrees. Welcome to this part of the country, right? I mean, insane. It's going to be like 65 here tomorrow where we're at. Of course, Hot Springs about 4 hours south. All right. As far as this race goes, it's a puzzle. There's no doubt about it. It is a crazy puzzle. I ended up going number 3 Butane on top. I really like this horse stretching out here in this spot. I think he's going to get a really good kind of mid-pack / stalking type of trip. I think the pace is going to be pretty hot. I thought he ran pretty well last time. He got second, beaten 2 lengths, but I think So Happy is a really nice sprinter. I think now stretching out second off the layoff, I think we're going to see the best of Butane, at least at this point in his career. So I put number 3 Butane on top. I am very scared of the number 2 Decode. I don't know if he's going to stretch or not. I don't know what the pace scenario is going to be for him or not. He had a lot of talent in that debut race, though, but I think Butane's going to get the trip here.
Decode is scary. Is scary good. Like that's no matter what. If you pick him, you're nervous. Can he get the distance when they hit the top of the stretch? If you're against him, you're nervous. is he going to back up, or is my horse, whoever you pick, can he go get him? Because Decode has got that speed, man. And I'm not, Speightstown, 6 furlongs is one thing. Mile 16th is another. Maybe a mile, I would be a little less nervous. I couldn't. There's a lot of pace in this race, and he's not the only one. Although I think he's the speed of the pace. I not quite there. I can make a case for a bunch of these at big prices. I mean, I think. By the way, Butane. If you haven't seen him, this horse is a specimen, which is not really a shock. It's Bob Baffert. These horses always are, but that horse is a freak. He looks like a freak, anyways. Which, by the way, they spent like $1.1 million on him, I think. So he should look like a freak. 'Tis the law, sire. So I expect him to he'll run well. I do think it's interesting that originally it was him and Litmus Test. I assume they were both planning on coming. And I think Litmus Test would have been the horse to beat out of those two. And I don't really like taking the other Baffert just because the other one didn't show up. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm kind of looking at prices, and I like Strategic Risk. I think it's fair, but I think there's plenty of options in here. I think Silent Tactic at 20-1 has got a big shot, who really was the only one that made any kind of ground up in that last race when they just creeped on the front end in the Smarty Jones, and he actually made a run, not really competitive run, but if he did finish second, beating 4 to Strategic Risk, he was the only one that closed, like I said. I don't know, with Rancho, he went off the near favorite in the Smarty Jones, was obviously a very hyped up horse going into it. He certainly should improve. I wanted to pick him, and then I'd watch the Smarty Jones, and I'd be like, damn, man, like it was a bad ride. Yeah, he was wide the whole time. He still just, I just mentioned Silent Tactic blew by him, right? I don't know. Like, if there's ever a time to play him, you're getting Flavian Pratt, Brad Cox, all the connections, bred to go long, all the things, right? And you're getting them at 10-1, whatever he ends up being. So if there's ever a time to take him, it's probably on Saturday or on Friday, I should say. I just couldn't get myself there to pick him. Another horse that I am going to pick on top that I think is going to benefit greatly from the pace is the 7. Liberty National. That is going to be my top pick of the race for who else but Kenny McPeak and Hernandez Jr. Those guys know how to win these kind of races. And, the gun runner, he just kept coming. He just kept coming and finished second. But with a little bit better trip and maybe a little bit closer or maybe a little more speed in the race, this horse, I think, will be very good here at Oaklawn Park. So I'm expecting speed. I think Liberty National is the one you can depend on the most to come late. So I just listed off like all 3 horses that are, 15, 10-1, 20-1. Do you think all those horses could have a shot?
Yes, I do. I like your pick of Liberty National. I've got that horse third. I'm with you. I think it's the pick up the pieces horse, the most logical one. I hated the gun runner. But maybe he just didn't get the setup that he really wanted. It was a short field, and they kind of just slowly went around there. So maybe in this kind of setup, Liberty National, gets a better setup and just has a better running style for it. I could see that for sure. I like that pick. I do want to touch on a couple, even like bigger picture things with Rancho Santa Fe. And then I'll get to him specifically. So for Laurent Giroux, for all the haters out there, he finally got fired by Brad Cox. So he has moved to California. You're not going to see him on any of these mounts for Cox anymore.
Yep. So
look at the past performances and kind of look for that. And if you really hated the guy and you really think he's just terrible, you're going to have first-time new jockeys on a lot of horses coming up. And this is kind of the first wave of the Derby horses that you're going to see. Okay, so you get Flavian Pratt. That's great. Flavian Pratt was named on Ottenhoe last week, and now they're running it on the same day, Withers and the Southwest. He stays here. Now, he has a lot of mounts at Oaklawn. It might not just be for Rancho Santa Fe, but it plays into it, right? So that's a good sign for Rancho Santa Fe. All that being said, I think Giroux sucks, just to be clear. But all that being said, I watched the replay of the Smarty Jones. This horse was just flat. I think it was a bad ride by Giroux to be like 5 wide and in last, but I don't really know. The horse just didn't act like he wanted to do a whole lot in that race. And the thing that makes you mad about that race, if you picked Rancho Santa Fe, which I did, they went 50 seconds to the half. He should have been in first by like a length.
Yep.
And he's last. So look, and a lot of it, you want to blame the jockey. I get it. I kind of think it was bad, but I don't think the horse really wanted to do anything either. So that was just a disaster. But now you're in a spot that's just a lot harder for him. You should have been able to take that field gate to wire based on what you'd done in the past, or at least turn for home with the lead. I don't know. Like, he's going to have to run a lot better, not just from the race last time out, but from any race to win in this spot. That's my problem with him.
Yeah, I mean, even whenever like the real running started in Smarty, like everyone was passing him. He was in last at the top of the stretch. It's like he kind of clunked his way up there to get fifth. I'm shocked he got that high, just because he never got out of first gear for whatever reason. And that's why I think he is. I mean, if you watch, it's weird because like if you watch the race, you're like, no, I don't want to bet that horse. And then, but if you look at everything else, you're like, well, he probably deserves a shot because what does John always say? Like, you can't, especially these young horses, you can't in his first race off of his, his first race is a 3-year-old off of the layoff. It's like you can't judge a horse on one start, right? And one bad performance, I guess. The race prior was a mile 16. Now, again, Keeneland, different times, totally get it. But the race went, 23 and 48. The race at Oaklawn went 24 and 49. They were going faster at Keeneland. And he was in third. He was in second, a length off the pace. This time, slower pace. And he's in seventh. He's in last. Like, he's not picking up his feet. Something weird happened. I don't know what. And he's not. I refuse to believe he's that bad. Now, is he good enough to win here? I don't know. But I think if there's ever a time to play him, this is going to be the time.
But yeah, and if you're, and don't get me wrong, if you want to take a shot with him at this price, take a shot with him at this price. I'm not talking off of him. My issue is I don't see a race that he's ran yet that can win. But where I backtrack against myself, he's first out as a 3-year-old. You're expecting improvement. Maybe if he shows up and runs, a lot better, you have that data point now, right? So maybe he got robbed of that data point, and maybe this is a race where you do get it. So, and here's the biggest thing: you're getting paid for it. Now, if he starts getting bet down, I would be a little leery. I would demand double-digit odds on him. If you get it, go for it.
Now, this is an interesting point. The track was closed for like 8 days or something, I think, for workouts. A lot of these horses, him included, made their way down to fairgrounds to get a workout in or a couple works in. That was smart, right? But not all of them did. So there's horses like the Cassie Barn who did not. And they're only going off one work off of that since that last race. So something to keep in mind. I don't know if it means anything, but some of these horses have not worked much because of that track being closed. Maybe one less work, let's say. Again, could have been by design. Cassie didn't think he needed to do much, but something to consider.
Oh, it's a factor. It's a factor. And back in the day, so to speak, that's what would happen in these early races. The horse that would ship in would win them a lot because you can't be missing works, and there's nothing they could do. The track, like I said, was literally frozen. So, it is a factor. I don't, I upgrade butane because of that, to be quite honest. I don't think it makes all the difference in the world, but if you're stuck trying to pick between 3 or 4 of them, I do think that is a factor that you got to take into account. I think at the end of the day, a guy like Brad Cox, who has the string at Oaklawn and at Fairgrounds, he could probably maneuver that a little bit better than, say, a guy like Ray Ashford with the 2. It's like, we're at Oaklawn. This is it. Like, you're not going anywhere else, right? And And so I think that's, you kind of got to think, put that into consideration. And with your horse, Liberty National, hey, he's at fairgrounds. He avoided it. He's coming in on a normal type of pattern.
Right. All right. So I think when you look at this kind of race, who stands out to you as not just a likely winner here, but, horses that could potentially be serious? We talked about Desert Gate earlier. We've talked about some of these horses, these other races where it's like, all right, I think that horse is a somewhat serious contender if they win, or maybe they're not yet, or whatever. Who is in here? Who do you think not only could win here, let's just say, but, who has a big shot do you think could emerge from the weekend as like a legit Kentucky Derby contender?
That's a great, the other ones, I have a very like concise list of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I like when you text me, it's like, man, I think a lot of these could win. I was like, yeah, they can. I like, okay, if Decode goes gate to wire and say he wins by, 3, let's just throw that out there. He's a contender. Now, whether he can go a mile and a quarter or not, that's still a question for another day, but that'd be a big statement. I mean, Butane winning would be a big statement. There's 2. I mean, Liberty National, he won this race with Mystic Dan, right? So what if he kind of, McPeak did, so what if he can get there, man? So there's 3. Strategic Risk, if he was to go back-to-back here, you'd have to put him on there. I kind of like the 11 Silent Tactic. You talked about him for a minute. I think he could be a legit contender if he wins. So there's 5 right there. I don't know who's going to come out of this thing. I personally didn't love the Smarty Jones. I think it's going to be somebody from a different, race that wins this. So I guess I'll stick to Code, Butane, Liberty National. I think those are the 3 that have the best chance to be like, potential prospects after this race.
I think, if I, at the very least, highly consider Silent Tactic as a, trifecta, superfecta horse in all your, tries or whatever you play here, because this would be a hell of a race to play him. I think the pace sets up even better for him here. And for what it's worth, like after the race, after the Smarty Jones, Cassie was, he just won, right, with Strategic Risk. His horses ran 1-3 or a 1-2. I'm sorry. He was kind of like, yeah, I mean, Strategic Risk, obviously going to the Southwest, probably go look for an allowance race or something for Silent Tactic. And he kind of won. I think one of the, couldn't quite find the right distance of a race in an allowance race. And 2, he said he's working so well that, like we're going to run him here, And so I think that's something to consider. Like he's worked himself into the race as a contender versus like, hey, we're just going to run him for fun. So I think he's a legit horse. I thought that last race he had been running at Woodbine on the synthetics. That was like, all right, what kind of horse is he? Is he a synthetic horse? What can he do? He had ran well at Woodbine, right? But what was he at Oaklawn? Mm-hmm. I thought he ran well. Like he proved that he's a decent horse. And I think this distance goes longer. He's out of a Gunrunner mare, Tacitus. I mean, this horse will go forever.
See, I think this is a really sneaky good, like really sneaky, I should say, bred horse.
Yeah.
We could do 2 hours on making fun of Tacitus, right? I mean, we could. As far as a racehorse, he just was that horse. He was bred really well, and he was really talented. He was just a screwball, right? But he was talented. So if he could pass on the talent, leave kind of the craziness behind to his offspring, and then you got a Gunrunner mare. I mean, I really like the breeding on Silent Tactic. He needs to step up. I think there's a good chance he does step up in this spot. Second on the dirt, better situation for him, at least on paper, with the pace. So at 20-1, I am pretty interested in him. We did have a comment on Soldier and Diplomat, the 13. I like that horse. I just don't like him at a mile and 16th. I feel like he's got a great shot to be a really good miler. The race last time out in the Kentucky Jockey Club, he turned the corner, and I thought he was winning. He just kind of felt like he flattened out a little bit for me, that last 16th of a mile. I also hate the post position. 13 is going to be really tough. I think he has talent. I no matter what he does here, don't give up on him, because I do think one-turn races, he's going to be very good.
He's got pretty good class, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's finished third or fourth, I should say, to Ted Noffey and Butane back in that hopeful, which he was beaten by the length of the stretch, but still, like you said, that one race where he dominated, and then he finished third to Further Ado in his last start. He's okay. I'm with you. I'm not. I'd be a little surprised, although this is that kind of race. I wouldn't be that surprised, but a little surprised if he won here. I could see him running well, but off the layoff, this kind of race, a horse I'm not convinced wants to go quite this long. I think this is like the perfect, hey, we tried. Let's see this horse running on the first Saturday of May, right? Only on the undercard in the Pat Day Mile or something like that.
Yeah, and I think even say if we're both kind of wrong about, hey, maybe he does want to go this far, he still has to navigate the 13 hole, and that's going to be really tough, and I guess it's 12 now, but still you're way out in the parking lot. So there's a lot of things going against him in this spot. And I just to reiterate, I couldn't agree more. It does kind of feel like, hey, run him in the Pat Day Mile going a mile, run him in the Woody Stevens up on Belmont Day going 7 furlongs. It feels like that's where he's really ultimately going to land. And but look, I don't blame him for giving this a shot. I think this is not a bad spot to take a swing at it. And look, if he stretches this time a little bit more successfully, maybe he's there to hit the board or something like that. I wouldn't be shocked.
Like, there's 13 horses that are running in this as of now, and I legitimately think 7 at least could win this race. And tell me any of these that I'm wrong with. Decode certainly, I think, could, like you said here on Saturday night, you're not going to be, or Friday night, you're not going to be shocked. Butane, obviously. Rancho, not going to be surprised. Liberty National, that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Strategic Risk, 5. Bricklin, we haven't talked much about Bricklin. I think he's got a shot, right? That last race was impressive at Oaklawn Park at 6, and Silent Tactic at 7. And if you want to take Bricklin out and put Soldier Diplomat, whatever, that's still 7 horses that have legit chances to win here. Do you have anything to add with Bricklin?
I would be surprised if he won. I did really like that last race, though. He's kind of Jekyll and Hyde a little bit, but the last race was really good, and that was an allowance right here, and that was on Smarty Jones Day. I'd be surprised if he won. I would say that, but he's another one. It's like, I don't think he's bad. I think he can go out there and do some damage somewhere at some point. You know what I mean? I'm just not sure that it's this race.
Yeah, that's probably fair. So let's just say if you wanted to cut it down to a couple, there's 5 that serious legit type horses that could win. So it's gonna be a fun race. We'll find out a lot on I guess Friday, right? This is for the biggest race of the weekend. This is one way to start your weekend off with Friday afternoon in the Southwest Stakes. So it's gonna be a fun one to watch. Stay tuned. I am gonna be on the 7. Liberty National. Halterman is going to take the Baffert, which Baffert knows a thing or two about winning at Oaklawn. So a good shot here to win it again. Butane, 3 to win the Southwest. All right, Halterman, before we wrap this up, I wanted to go through we're going to start doing this each time whether it be its own segment or while we're doing the previews, is kind of a recap of what we saw last weekend and some of the horses and kind of the horses, 2 or 3 that are trending up, 2 or 3 that are trending down as far as the 3-year-old crop goes. And I think first and foremost, we got to go to Gulfstream Park from last weekend, of course, and that's nearly winning the Holy Bull. I'll pull it up here on the replay here. But I think in the same race, you have Nearly that's clearly going up, and then you have Cannoneer and Incredible who clearly are going down.
Yeah, I mean, Incredible didn't show up, so that's very concerning. They kind of said he didn't like the track, so he's definitely a thumbs down. Cannoneer spit the bit quick. It was a very poor effort there for him. Yeah, when you get to the positive, I think Nearly There was a lot of good to take. There is a little bit of bad as well. I think the good with nearly to be able to just kind of take it to Cannoneer early. I thought that was impressive. We were worried, at least I was worried going into the race that Cannoneer would get loose. Nearly just pressed his ass every single step and then just kind of put him away. That's impressive. That's what a good horse does. So that was very impressive. He did not finish all that well, but he went too fast early, right? Yeah. So you're not going to finish well or fast when you go fast early most of the time, unless you're flight line. So I kind of, the thing I'm not worried about, he's not a one-dimensional horse. We saw him sit off the pace just 2 races ago. I think he ran this style because they thought they had to do it. I think he can sit off of it. So all in all, I think he checked a lot of boxes in this race.
One thing I'd worry about as a Cannoneer backer is, after the race, Cox was kind of like, yeah, I think we learned how far maybe he wants to go. And that kind of tells me like maybe they're ready to back off of Cannoneer, at least from this on the trail. I don't, I'm just reading between the lines there, but he didn't have a lot of excuses other than, a horse breathing down his neck the whole way, which and going insanely fast, but nearly finished. Cannoneer didn't. Right. But the way they were going, I was like, no way that nearly can keep going here. I actually loved the 8 in this spot. Mm-hmm. Like at this point, because I had the horse picked. I'm like, oh yeah, that the 7's all softened up. Here we come. And the 7 just, he just pulled away. Now, I did say, I think I even said this to you or Kevin after the race. I'm like, I think a good horse, like a really good horse, could have gone and got him, but there wasn't really necessarily one in that race. So I like him. He deserves to be the number 1 horse, in my opinion, as of right now. But I'm not sitting here thinking that's like the Derby winner yet.
Mm-hmm. So same. I'm not going crazy over him. That being said, I ranked him number 1 on the list. But it's kind of just more like, well, there isn't really anything to do other than put him number 1 right now. I told you I was off air though. I'm looking for a new number 1 this week and the next. Well, I think we talked about it on air too. So I thought he did what he needed to do. And I think if he can take another kind of step in the Florida Derby, he could win this thing, right? He's definitely in it. And I'm with you. At the top of the stretch, I thought, man, Bavaro is going to be a problem for this horse. He couldn't make up any ground. And a matter of fact, he lost ground. So there's that.
Let's move on to another one I put Class President in for the Rising Up. This is the Swell Stakes. He's finished. He's the 1 horse here, finished second. I guess you should put the winner here in there as well, although I think you and I both are agreeing that going long is not necessarily going to be his strong suit, but he certainly deserves to be in the mix because he did dominate the Swell. But whenever you look at that race in the breeding, you're not sitting there thinking, wow, going longer for a Solitary Dude is going to be the winner here.
I about fell out of the chair. He's like, all right, we're going to talk about Class President now. And just that time, he's just getting his ass beat by this winner Solitude Dude. It's like, oh yeah, he's got a lot of upside, this Class President. But no, I do understand what you're saying. We're talking about Kentucky Derby horses here. And I do think here in the Swale, Class President is the Kentucky Derby horse you want. So Solitude Dude, a great horse going short, 7 furlongs.
Very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, I think 1 turn.
No disrespect.
They're going to try to stretch him. I would not be shocked if he stole a race at 1 1/16. I would be shocked if he goes 1 1/8 or 1 1/4 and wins. So I'd be surprised. Class President was never really supposed to be in this race. They tried to get him in an allowance going longer. It didn't fill. He was ready to run. They needed to get him a race before he goes to a prep race next. So they chose the 7 furlong event. He ran well enough in this race to, if Solitude Dude, isn't as good as we thought he was, which we both picked him. We thought he would cruise. But let's say he wasn't. Class President would have won. The point I'm trying to make is he made him be a really good sprinter, and he was. When they stretch out, Class President's going to be heard from. He's not bad. That's 2 really good races in a row. His maiden was good. this next race was good too. So I'm with you. I think he's on the rise. I think he's one you watch when they get to a mile 16th and a mile and an eighth.
Yeah. I think it's just as simple as you kind of said it, where it's like we are running, and whether that be the fountain the fountain of youth or wherever, I think it's going to be the fountain of youth. But like class president is running in a race, like we know he's running in a prep race in 2 starts. This next start was supposed to be allowance. Like no matter what, like we're running that race because we think he's good enough to run in that race because we think he's a Derby horse. And that race didn't feel or couldn't find the right race. And it's like, we got to run him, right? He's ready to run. We got to have another race under his belt before we go to the next one. And that's just kind of what happened. And, you and I both were like, yeah, he can't win here. Like everyone, anyone that I respect and talk to is like, good horse. Don't know why he was in that race. But I mean, you kind of start to learn more, you're like, okay, I get it. But I think he probably learned something in that race. And hopefully I think if they do match up again in the Fountain of Youth, I wouldn't be shy to take the horse to finish second there.
Yeah, I think, if it was a paceless race, maybe Solitude Dude is not going to get caught even at a mile 16th. But I think, if there's other pace in there, it sets up a lot better. And I mean, you really described it the right way. When they drew it, it's like, what's he doing here? And then you hear, well, the allowance in field, it's like, okay. And then you watch him run and it's like, no, he was ready to run. Like he ran a good race. There's nothing to be ashamed of. So yeah, anyway, I think he'll be fine.
All right. Last horse I'm going to talk about is Potente, who ran in that maiden special weight at Santa Anita on whatever day that was. Saturday, whenever. I mean, listen, Potente did what he was supposed to do. He won the race. I'm not overly excited about him yet. I think he's got a lot more to prove in his next start. But, huge horse, huge purchase horse for Baffert and Speedway. And obviously after the race, quotes from Baffert sounded like horse is aiming towards the Derby. So we'll see what they do next with him. But, did what he's supposed to do and win here.
I think he's using this race to go to a route next. I really think Crude Velocity, the horse that scratched, was a little bit better meant to go this distance. And I think with Potente, it's a little bit like Class President in that this isn't really what he wants to do. He's built like a tank. He doesn't really look like a sprinter. He doesn't really run like a sprinter, in my opinion, either.
No.
I thought the race it wasn't great, but I do think this is not really to me, it was like they kind of entered him to get a race underneath him so he can go long and be really fit and ready. Well, he won. So now I think that's a good thing, and now you can go to an allowance or you can go, I guess you could try a prep. I wouldn't be shocked they try a prep with him next. This is not the best we're going to see of him. That's the good news. He will get better going longer. But look, the plus side of it with him, he had a horse breathing down his neck the whole time, and he put him somewhat. Captain Shreve kind of put himself away some, and then Potente put him away a little bit as well. But I mean, look, there's nothing but positive as far as what could move forward. It just wasn't one of those Baffert first timers that just blow you away, which, again, I just don't think this horse is ever going to blow you away going this distance. I doubt the horse runs one turn ever again.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed. I mean, that's kind of Baffert was like, yeah, he's not a one turn horse. So we kind of got that. The way he worded it was like, we kind of got that out of the way. Now let's go towards what we want to do. And I think, a horse like this, like you said, breathing down his neck and gets tested a little bit. It kind of felt like no matter, they could have ran another lap around, that horse wasn't getting by him. That's just kind of
right. He
just kind of has that kind of tank and is kind of that steady, not flashy, but was just going to keep going. So I don't know. Again, I'm with you. I think it's promising. I think he's a promising horse. But I'm not, wasn't justified winning the length of the stretch on his day. Where you're like, oh, this is like, just get him to the Derby, please. So it's like, but this year with what we're working with certainly is in with a shot.
The time was very slow compared to the other times on that day. That was another problem. But again, I really, when I look back at that and really think about it, I kind of think they just were using that race to get him to a route, I think they made the decision of, well, we could just keep working him up to it, or why don't we get him a race, and then he happened to win it. So good on him, right?
Yeah, and I'm with you. That's kind of why we picked up the stablemate too in that race. You're like, well, shit. I mean, I kind of think that's the right horse that, and even Hernandez being on that horse kind of showed that, where it's like, that's probably the horse in this race, right? And so he ends up scratching in Potente, was the last one left.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know that he was meant to necessarily, going into that, be the horse that was going to be awesome going that long. So, but yeah, anyone else you'd like to add to the upgoing, that at least in your opinion, increased or fell down the ladder a little bit after last weekend?
No, not after last weekend, because we ended up just not having a whole lot, right? There just wasn't a lot of tracks even open. So that was about it for the 3-year-olds. Now that this segment could probably be 3 hours next week.
Yeah, right.
We do it. So
we might want to do one pod next week on just the aftermath of horses rising and falling on the Derby Trail, and then one previewing the Risen Star, because it could be that in depth. I mean, we just talked for an hour on 7 preps and 4 of those major Derby preps. So yeah, lots to talk about next weekend. Obviously more updates coming, but that's a look at the Derby picture coming up this weekend and what we've seen so far. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Make sure you check us out over at racingdudes.com for our free picks and all those picks for all the races we just talked about. If you want in-depth exactas, trifectas, pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, whatever, doubles, whatever you like to play, we've got picks, whether it be free, premium, Soma Bombs, Rockets, whatever you want, over at racingdudes.com. Now is a great time to be a subscriber, as low as $70 a month, and it gets those betting Bibles for free. We'll have a Risen Star betting Bible, right, next weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So stay tuned for that. Great time, again, to be a premium subscriber with those getting for free. We're on Twitter at race_dudes, Instagram, Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to. We, of course, are there. Go to YouTube. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Dudes Who Bet Sports on last week, or yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, talking about the Super Bowl. That's right. So we are only a few days out. Any final thoughts on your picks on the Super Bowl?
I think Seattle, and I think it's easy. I am just having a hard time making a game out of it. So,
and maybe I'm too playing like devil's advocate and being too nervous about it. I'm with you, but I keep going back thinking, am I underthinking this? Are the Patriots the play? Because everyone you talk to is Seattle's going to kill them. Seattle, this is going to be not going to be close. And are the Patriots going to cover? Is this going to be a close game? Am I underthinking it?
Yeah. It's funny. I was on VSiN last night, and I was on with Patrick last night as well from Mad Dog and VSiN Live. And we all had the same thought that you just mentioned. It's like, especially the guys at VSiN, they've talked about it for 2 weeks. They are so sick of it.
Right.
Because it's like, as handicappers, how many times can we say, all the data says Seattle's going to win? You can't, and how many different ways can you say that? Right. I can't go on, maybe the Patriots are the play because everybody likes the Seahawks, but it's everybody likes the Seahawks because it looks like the Seahawks should win the game pretty easily. So we'll see. Look, the Patriots just feel really lucky to be there. They had a great season. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but they feel it's pretty fortunate. Seattle's just been dominant. So Seahawks for me.
I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what the exact number is, but I think through the 2 games of the playoffs for the Seattle anyways, I think they put up 70 plus points, something like that. And I think New England is kind of struggled to put up points, really, frankly. I mean, it was unfortunate with the snow in Denver, but still, it was only 10 points, I think, in that game. And it just, as good. And honestly, and I'm a huge Drake May guy. I love Drake May, but
yeah,
as good as he was in the regular season, the defense is what's carried them through the playoffs.
Yeah, he's been average.
He's been average at best in the playoffs. And again, I'm a huge advocate for him, but the defense is, and that's the thing about, and that's, to me, honestly, is what gives me pause about overthinking or underthinking the game. Their defense, New England's defense, is not getting enough credit, I think, because they have been awesome in the playoffs so far, and they have and they can keep the game close. Now, how good is Seattle's offense? That good to where they can just outplay them? I also think I kind of think their defense will put them in a lot of really good positions.
That is we talked about. Okay, how is it New England, whether it be to cover or to win the game? And it's like the answer unanimously is, well, it's two things. One, Drake May's got to be elite, and two, and most importantly, and the biggest thing, that defense is going to have to continue to get turnovers. That has been the saving grace of the team, really, in all three games, especially the last two, for sure. You got to keep getting those turnovers. My thing that I don't think they're going to get as many is this is a much, much, much better team they're playing offensively, and a much more well-rounded team. When you look at the Chargers, that offensive line was just atrocious, and so they took advantage of it. Good on them to take advantage of it. The second game, CJ Stroud, if he plays a decent game, they probably win. He was horrific. And then the last game was just a joke, let's face it. So, yeah, if they can get those turnovers, they're right there. But will they get them? I don't know.
The thing that if you're in that game, in that realm of thinking, the only thing that would give you pause or to say, well, it's possible is, and by the way, Sam Darnold looked like Tom Brady in the last game. He did. He was unbelievable. But if there's a guy that could start seeing ghosts, we've seen games where he throws 3-4 picks in a game, right? Where he just kind of goes haywire a little bit. If that defense starts getting after him and he starts, so it's possible, although I'd say unlikely. But that is the one thing where I'm like, yeah, if that defense does get kind of nasty, meaning New England's defense, maybe they could force him to make some mistakes, and that makes the game very interesting.
Yes, yeah, you could turn it into a 17-13 type of slugfest, and you could win. You're comfortable in that if you're New England, and I think you're right. And look, I am kind of under the assumption if we were going to see Sam Darnold crack, it was going to be that game last week, because he had to keep making tons of plays, and he did.
He was awesome.
But there is a chance. And if that, hey, Mr. Sam Darnold, who holds on to the ball too long and takes a lot of sacks and throws interceptions and fumbles, if he shows up, yeah, they're in the game. They're totally, not only they're in the game, that New England will win. I just don't foresee that happening, but it could. It absolutely could, but that's a hard thing to predict, I guess, is the better way to put it.
Are you playing the -4.5, or do you have them lower than that?
No, I'm taking 4.5. Yeah, take -4.5. There could be. I haven't looked at. I could play him to win, and win the time of possession. I've thought about that one. That's a plus money bet if you want to do that. But I don't. Me, I don't play like that. That's how they want you to play. So I don't play like that.
I know, right?
I'll do a single bet. And take my chances with it. You can't. I'm not really interested in like -230 or whatever they are on the money line. I'm just not a guy that does that really. So yeah, I'll just kind of take the 4.5 and hope is how I'll describe it.
The one I've been kind of flirting around with is there's a bunch of different thought processes. But like I'm trying to I like having a minus, kind of juicing a little bit and get a -2.5 on Seahawks, and then them to score over 23.5 over 23.5 Seahawks. That is, and that is that's basically doubling your money. It's -100 ish. It kind of depends on where you get it. So bet 20, win 40. It's not super sexy, but it's a way to me to I think that would cover. That, at least my opinion is correct. It's going to cover, and I like them to score more than 20. to score 24 plus. I really do. So if they're going to win the game, I think they'll score 24. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. But there's a lot of interesting plays. Also, another idea that I've seen people doing is like, hey, either take the Seahawks money line or take them whatever, and then put if your book allows it, have them combine that with Sam Darnold winning MVP. Because if chances are if they're going to win, it's probably pretty likely he's MVP. And so that's a good way to play it as well. But I know you don't. I mean, and I get it. It's like you'd hate to, they win, 17-7, and it's because the defense. Some guy, one of them had two picks and one for a touch. You know what I mean? And then you're like, well, shit, I was right all along, but I didn't get it because he didn't win MVP. So that's part of the game. But I think there are ways to juice up that Seahawks line with things that I like to happen.
No, and look, I'm in the minority. Like I bet every single night. So I mean, the Super Bowl is just one night of 365. So I don't necessarily look at it as like, okay, now we got to do this, this, and this. So yeah, I'll probably just keep it simple on that kind of radar. But I get it. Like, I like what you're thinking about doing. I think is good. Like, I mean, I really think it's going to be like 28-10 this game.
Yeah. Another line, I haven't looked at it like recently, but another idea is like Seahawks combine Seahawks with the game. Seahawks win the first half.
Yeah.
I think they're going to come out and like I could see it being somewhat close, not like 17-10 or 17-7 or something at halftime. But I do think they're going to be winning. I would be a little bit surprised if the Patriots went into halftime winning, right? And so I like that line as well, or combining those lines. I've seen a lot of people that say like they love playing, I think the team to run the first play of the game being a run is like hit 6 of the last 7 years or something like that. Two teams that do like to run for sure. Seems likely here as well, but teams like to be very, especially with like teams that are at least these versions on the Chiefs. It's not a team that's in there every year. They maybe like to be a little more careful, a little more slow getting into the game, so you could see a run the very first play. I think that's a decent bet as well. So, but again, I'm trying to not to get into that as much as like, who do I think is going to win? I think it's going to be the Seahawks. How do I make money on it? So.
Right. Yeah. I also look at it like if the Rams, let's say the Rams were here, would you pick the Rams?
Yeah, probably.
What if the 49ers were here? Would you pick the 49ers to beat the Patriots?
I'd be hesitant. I mean, I guess if they made it, yeah, I'd probably pick them. Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to think of it like if they're there, that means they made it, right? And that's and they beat these teams. So yeah, I'd probably pick them.
And that's why I've looked at it 100 ways because I think, okay, is I'm making it too easy? But it's like if I'm sitting here and going, I think the Niners, they probably beat them. Maybe it's close. It's a pick 'em or whatever, And then the Rams would be like, oh yeah, I would definitely pick the Rams. Like, how in the hell can I not pick Seattle then?
Yeah.
Like you can't. So, maybe that opinion's wrong that I had, maybe the Niners, they would kill the Niners. Maybe that's true, but I think it'd be a very competitive game.
What's funny is like, it's been months now. I think I even texted you about it, but me and Cohen were like kind of going like, I think it was like November-ish or something, or like I was trying, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl? Like, let's take our predictions, and I think I said Patriots, Rams, or is it Rams or 49ers? I don't remember. I think it was Rams. And he said Patriots, Seahawks.
There you go.
And I'm like, dude. And even now, and I literally, I haven't like gone through. I bet he's missed one game through the playoffs. As far as like just straight up, right?
Yeah.
Like, who do you think's going to win? He's like, oh, they're going to, and he's been right. And so I'm like, who's going to win this game? And he loves the Patriots. He's like, oh, the Seahawks.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so I feel good now.
I'm backing him. So,
so he likes the Patriots, but he's picking the Seahawks.
He does like. He likes. Well, he knows. We've rooted on. Like, he likes Drake May. He continues just the way he plays, and he likes. He has some friends, I think, that are Patriots friends, but he's not dumb, and he's seen the Seahawks defense and stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, like they're going to win.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
like, yeah, that's good call. So,
Yeah, good call. Very good call. I was going to be concerned if he had missed any and then he picked New
know.
England, but okay.
yeah, no, he likes the Seahawks, but we are rooting for the Patriots. As like I told him, I was like, because I have this Drake May card that's kaboom. It's worth like 5,000 right now. It's like if they win, it's worth 10,000 because he's probably gonna be MVP of the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl. If they lose, my bet wins. So I'm like, hey, win-win here. So,
well, even if he loses that game, that card's not going to drop in value, really.
No,
like maybe immediately, but give it 2 weeks, it won't.
Exactly. And even give it, really it'll fall during the summer and then it will come back up during the preseason and the hype of, because the reality is New England wasn't supposed to be here this year. They were rebuilding to get to this point, right? But this was way earlier than anybody expected, certainly for a second-year quarterback in Drake May. So, they're kind of playing with house money right now. So yeah, it's still a very good card, but that card would become like an insane card overnight, basically, if they won. And so it's like, oh shit, like it's kind of like having a little bit of a lottery ticket for the game.
All right, well, we'll root for what you're doing there. Listen, if New England wins, hey, what are you going to bet on this? Not $5,000. So it would be better if New England won.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
shit. My $20 bet is not going to do much compared to the value of that card for sure. So,
all right, we know who we're rooting for now.
There you go. Because I don't think he's going to win MVP. I think Stafford will win the MVP because they have to do the voting, right? So
yeah.
I think Stafford will be the MVP of the actual regular season, but still a good year for May. But yeah, I think you and I are on similar thinkings for the Super Bowl. I got to tell you this, though. I'm excited. It's been the first year in 4 years I can actually watch the Super Bowl and enjoy it and eat and like, like not be nervous and have anxiety the whole game and whatnot. So kind of excited. I mean, I wish the Chiefs were in it, obviously, but
yeah,
kind of enjoyable to actually have a party and watch it on TV and just sit there and relax.
That will be nice.
But,
Very nice.
It is. It's kind of it brings you back to the old days when the Chiefs sucked every year and they weren't even in the playoffs. This year.
It did feel like an old days Chief team, that's for sure. He never had any hope. So
yeah, that's the thing. Us Chiefs fans, us real Chiefs fans, were like, yeah, it sucked. And you're like, yeah, I've been here before. It's all right.
Yeah.
I know how to survive this.
We're very comfortable in this position. Thank you very much. So.
Yeah, I can handle it. Yeah, I know pain. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's going to do it for us. Until next time, huge weekend, whether it be racing, whether it be the Super Bowl, whatever. Everybody, good luck. Have fun. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.